Mr. Nashville Talks, country music legend and my friend, Ronnie McDowell. Find out how a song released in memory of Elvis Presley hit the charts following the King's death and made Ronnie McDowell a country music star.
The king is gone. Yeah, the king is gone. Long live his name. Yeah, the king is gone. Oh, the king is gone. Long live his name. Goodbye, Elvis. We'll miss you.
All of a sudden, the young Vietnam veteran from Portland, Tennessee, was a country music star, a heartthrob for the ladies, and quickly proved that he wasn't just a one-trick pony. McDowell scored a second hit for the Scorpion label titled I Love You, I Love You, I Love You, before being wooed and signed by CBS Records' Epic label in 1979. Ronnie McDowell charted a legion of hit singles and albums for Epic between 1979 and 1986. Every single release, with the exception of just one, became a top 10 hit, including the chart toppers Older Women, and You're Gonna Ruin My Bad Reputation.
You're gonna ruin my bad reputation with the good love you're giving me.
Other hits during his epic years included Watching Girls Go By, Personally, You Made a Wanted Man Out of Me, All Tied Up, and In a New York Minute.
Well, I'd make love to you in a New York minute and take my Texas time doing it. I'd do you.
Ronnie sat down to talk with us today about his legendary career and his new autobiography, Bringing It to You Personally. And after today's episode, if you weren't a fan of Ronnie's, you will be. If you're already a fan, I think you'll leave feeling like you visited an old friend. I am so excited to have you here. Your family, you've been very special to me for quite a long time now, and his daughter-in-law does my hair, so if it looks bad, blame it on her. And but just so happy to have you here, and you've got so many things going right now. Your new book, and you're on tour, but I have to ask you the question everybody wants to know and has told me to ask you. Do older women really do make good lovers?
You know what, Larry? Not only are older women better lovers, but older men are grateful.
That's right. That's right. I tell you what, you are one of those people that when I see you in concert,
yeah,
these ladies go nuts. That has to be exciting. I mean, I know you're a good, calm, conservative guy, but you get a lot of, how can you not get all the temptation? There's so many that throw themselves at you.
You know, sometimes I think about changing older women to all those women.
Yeah.
Are beautiful lovers. Instead of just making it for older women,
yeah,
might as well make it for all of them.
Everybody. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, the new book,
yeah,
you're out promoting that now, and you've done a lot of in-store autograph signings.
Yes.
And I guess you sign them after the show, maybe?
I do. Sometimes before, sometimes after. We were just at the Country Music Hall of Fame signing the new book. And just before, prior to coming here, I did an hour-long radio show with Larry's Country Diner.
Oh, that's great.
Out of Seattle, just specifically promoting the book.
The book.
And it's probably one of my favorite things that I've done since I've been doing what I do.
Yes.
Because it literally is my life. And I kept the book very positive, nothing negative about anything or anybody.
Right.
But it's still about my life and things that happened since I was a baby. And so it's my favorite project I've ever done.
And where can they get it? Aside from, can they get it in the bookstores or just website and country music outlets or
Amazon.com.
Amazon, okay.
Or RonnieMcDowellBook.com. And it's called Bringing It to You Personally, after our top 5 record that we have in '84. If you remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
I'm bringing it to you.
I love it.
Personally. So, we just thought that was a great title for the book.
Yeah.
Scott England is the guy that came up and asked me to do the book. I didn't really want to do it at first because I wasn't ready, I felt like. But after he told me some stories about his best friend used to come to see me when he was a kid from Life, his best friend. And he said, now, do you remember this guy? And he showed me an 8x10. And I said, yeah, I do remember. And it took me back like 35 years. I said, he used to come see me all the time. He said on his deathbed at 25, he called me over to his bed and he said, I want you to go see Ronnie. And he said, I started seeing you when I was 18, and there was a 14-year-old girl in the audience that used to come to see you all the time. He said, I married her.
Oh, my
And we
goodness.
have been married 35 years, and now we have a 14-year-old daughter.
Wow.
And I said, Scott, I really was not interested in this, but what you've told me, let's do it.
Yes.
It took all last year, 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour, sometimes 5 and 6 hour sessions. Writing a book about your life is not easy.
Right.
And it's very time consuming. But after I finished and I saw the book, which is a beautiful, I wish I'd have brought one, I'm sorry. But anyway, it's a
Well, we have
beautiful.
it showing on the screen. So.
Okay, good. Well, anyway, it's a beautiful cover. Not my mug, but it's just a great, beautiful book.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm just very proud of it.
Well, I'm glad because I think it's really an uplifting experience that you have had. You haven't gotten any scandals.
No.
You know, you've always been positive. And you started out, you lived here. You weren't a transplant. You were kind of in Clarksville, correct? Or
Portland.
Portland.
Yeah.
And so you really weren't a Nashville transplant. I mean, I guess technically, but not much. You know, you're just...
Yeah, I was only 35 miles from here. And what I did, I painted signs during the day. I was in clubs 6 nights a week, 5 shows a night for like 5 years. And I was writing songs.
Yeah.
And every day I'd get off work, I would fly down here. And I mean literally, I would fly down here and I would knock on doors. And that was back then when they had an open door policy.
Yeah.
And people would literally listen to what you had. And I finally got somebody to listen to a song. I got a song recorded. Then I got another. So first and foremost, I'm a songwriter.
Yes, yes, and a great one.
Thank you. And Watching Girls Go By just went over 1 million airplay.
That's awesome.
And when you write it, your royalties triple
Yeah, right.
when it reaches 1 million. So, you know, I love that part of
Well,
it.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about now the whole digital download and it's so easy to a lot of the songwriters aren't getting their due now. I mean, how do you feel about that? That they're this new technology and they're not really revamping a way to help the songwriter, because there's a lot of start now. You have 3 or 4 people on one song, you know.
Yeah, and that, you know, that is a problem. But guess what? The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
It's not the future. It's now.
Right.
And there's
Everything
nothing.
changes, yeah.
And there's nothing really they can do about it.
Right.
I just hope that who at BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, I hope that they take care of our royalties as good as they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, give us what we deserve as songwriters, and hopefully it won't get worse.
Right, right. Well, now, one of the neatest things about you early in your career is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going by my history of studying you all these years, Priscilla Presley chose you
Yep.
to do the vocals for the Elvis Presley movie.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal.
Well, yeah.
And how did that come about? How did she hear you? Were you friends before, or did just someone get a tape to her?
I tell you how that came about. In 1977, I was in Walker, Louisiana, at the Old South Jamboree doing a show. I followed Loretta Lynn in.
Oh, wow.
She was there on Friday. I was there on Saturday. And after the show, this guy come up to me and he goes, Ron, now this way before cell phones,
Yeah.
but they had a phone in the back. And he said, Ronnie, there's a guy on the phone that says he's Dick Clark and he wants to speak to you. And I said, yeah, right. And The King Is Gone was like #9 on the pop charts.
Yeah.
I mean, that song was hot.
Yeah, I remember.
So I went back and I got on the phone and I said, hello. And he goes, Ronnie, this is Dick Clark. And I went, yeah, right. Who is this? He said, no, it's really Dick Clark. He said, you go to the Baton Rouge airport now. He said, I've got a private jet there going to fly you to California. He said, get some sleep. There'll be a helicopter to pick you up. You'll land at the ABC lot. He said, you're going to be on American Bandstand tomorrow.
Wow.
I didn't sleep a wink.
I imagine not.
But anyway, I walked right into makeup, and Dick came in and started talking to me. Now, here's the weird thing about that. You got to remember that song was not that old.
Right.
And so I didn't really know it that well. And I said, Mr. Clark, I'm sure glad that y'all pantomime, because he said, Ronnie, we don't do that anymore. You got to do it live. And I freaked out. My heart froze. And I went, oh, my God, 40 million people and when that red light comes on. But you know what? This is God's truth. Larry, I never missed a note. And if you Google me on there doing that song, it looks like I'm in total control, but inside I was petrified. But I made, yeah. So that's how Priscilla, me doing the Dick Clark movie with Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Because Dick called me up about 3 or 4 weeks later and said, I'm doing a movie about Elvis, starring Kurt Russell. And I said, are you talking about that guy in those Disney movies? I said, he don't look nothing like Elvis.
Right.
He said, well, wait till you see his screen test. I'm going to send it to you. He did, and I was like amazed. I went, wow. So I called him up and I said, I want to do this. 38 songs I did in the movie.
One for the money, two for the show. Three to get ready, now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Well, you can do anything, say all for my blue suede shoes. You can knock me down, step on my face, slam my name all over the place. Do anything you want to do, but honey, lay off of my shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Well, you can do anything but say all for my blue suede shoes.
So that was like movie of the year.
Yeah. It's still at reruns now.
Yeah. So when it came out that night, I never will forget, it was up against my other hero, Clark Gable.
Oh, wow.
It was up against Gone with the Wind and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But Elvis beat him.
Wow.
So I was really proud to be a part of that. So when Priscilla had Elvis and Me, that #1 book,
Yes.
she did a movie and she called me up and said, I want you to be Elvis's voice. And so we got to be really good friends. And the first time I met her, you got to remember, back in those days, she was still in her 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And she was the most beautiful human I have ever seen. Yeah. And the first thing and when I walked up to her, the first thing she said to me was, do you have any idea what you have done for Elvis Presley? And I said, well, Priscilla, do you have any idea what Elvis Presley has done for me?
I love that.
And so, but I did. I told her, I said, Priscilla, no wonder Elvis went gaga over you. I said, you are literally the most striking human I have ever seen. And the funny thing about it, Bryan Adams was behind me. Remember Bryan Adams?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he and Aaron Neville and Chris Christopherson, we were all on the grounds of Graceland waiting to meet Priscilla. And remember, I'd already done the movie, but I didn't get to meet her during the movie. And so after I told her that, Bryan Adams walked up to her, and I was listening, and I just told her that, and he goes, Priscilla, because he's got a gravelly voice, he said, you're the prettiest thing I ever seen. So anyway, I got to know her, and she's always been the kindest and sweetest person to me.
I've always got that vibe from her, and I met her daughter Lisa once, and I knew people that knew Elvis and were close to him, and the generosity of that family, and they really did love each other. That life on the road and the type of what living he had. He was so much was expected of him.
But I'll tell you what, Larry, the reason that Elvis is still like so endeared to the public to this day is because people recognized and realized that Elvis had one of the biggest hearts ever.
Yes.
See, Elvis did things behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Exactly.
I know about some of the things he did that the public has no earthly idea what he did for people.
Exactly. Very generous man. And one thing that people don't know about you, some do, Your diehard fans, I'm sure, do. But a lot of the general public, they don't know how great of a painter you are. I mean, you have made some of the greatest paintings. Loretta Lynn,
Yep.
Oprah,
Yep.
George Jones, which I happen to have an autographed George Jones painting that I love from Ronnie, of George on his famous lawnmower on a bench. And but do you sell these to everybody, or do you get requests for commissions, or because you really should? I mean, you've got such a great talent.
Well, I do both. You know, I do signed and numbered prints. And George actually called me up and asked me to do that. And he goes, "Hey, Ronnie, I want you to do a painting of me getting a DUI on my lawnmower." And I never dreamed, of course he didn't either, you know. He called me up 2 weeks before he passed. He goes, "Son, I'm coming and getting 800 of those paintings." And I said, 800?
Wow.
I said, "Good Lord." He said, "I'm going on tour." Well, he didn't get to go on tour. But I said, "George," now I knew him for 40 years. He was my hero.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said, "George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you." He said, "What's that, son?" I said, "Well, there's 4 singers in my book." He said, "Who's that?" And I said, "Hank Williams, you, Elvis, and Conway." And I said, "And then there's everybody else." He said, "Well, son, that's good company you're putting me in." He said, "You know who my hero is, don't you?" I said, "Yes, sir. Mine, Hank Williams."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad I got to tell him that. And now that painting that you have is in the George Jones Museum. So what an honor.
It is. And George, I actually was working on George's last album with him. I was going to produce it.
Wow.
And he just got we couldn't do anything. And we had we had Dolly wrote songs for it. We had people, Alice Cooper's people were calling, and they submitted a great song that would fit him, you know.
Right.
I was just shocked at all the publicity that it got just from getting out that he was going to do another album, you know. But that voice was so amazing. He was such a stylist. We miss that in country music. We're going to miss him for sure. But I'm so glad that Nancy has preserved his legacy so well.
And she has. Nancy, I tell everybody this, Nancy saved George's life.
Yes.
Big time.
Yes.
Long before he left us, she saved his life.
Oh, yeah.
She gave him probably 20, 30 more years.
Yes, yeah. And then, you know, to keep it for the fans where they can come see and respect him and see all the memorabilia and keep him alive like that, I think that's a great honor that doesn't happen a lot when somebody, you know, a lot of times when the artist dies and that's the end of it. It's just, let's put out CDs and sell something quick and make a quick buck and, you know, that type of thing. Nothing as classy as what she did in Nashville. But back to you, though, I want to, you have a great little drummer in your family. Can you tell us a little bit about your new little drummer that appears sometimes with you?
Well, I have a lot of talented people. Family members. I have Tyler Dean, who is a recording artist, getting ready to record a new song.
Oh, wow.
I can't tell you what it is because then I'll give it away.
Right, yeah.
But it was his idea, and he was with Curb since he was 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so he's 26 now.
Wow.
So anyway, so the one you're talking about is the other Ronnie McDowell. There's actually 3 of us. Mm-hmm. Me, my older son, who is my drummer, Ronnie Dean.
Yes.
Who is probably one of the best drummers ever. And I'm not just saying that because he's my kid. Everybody in Nashville tells me the same thing.
Right.
But when he's not playing with me, you probably know this. I'm sure Dana's told you he plays with the Buffett Band.
Right, right.
And so then my grandson, who is Ronnie Garin McDowell, he started playing the congas and the bongos, and his timing is impeccable.
Yes.
Me, I can't chew gum and pat my feet at the same time. So those two did not get that from me. But Garin is a wonderful. He did a session the other day, this boy from Pennsylvania, and he did Suspicious Minds with this kid who loves Elvis. And Garin played the congos one take.
Wow.
And he's only 10. So,
amazing.
You know, he'll probably have an amazing career doing what he loves to do.
Well, I want to close with this. This is a really great honor that we shared together when the North American Country Music Hall of Fame put you, myself, I couldn't believe they put me in there, and Lulu Roman from Hee Haw, and Deborah Allen.
Oh yeah.
And we had the best night that night. That was really special for me because I don't get awards like that. But you know, you were very deserving, and we want to see you in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I want to end on that and say, you know, I can't wait to the day that they hand you that medallion. And I thank you so much for being the kind person that you've always been to me, to your fans, to your family, because you have the greatest family.
I do.
And that represents you a lot. Even more than your writing, your art, the fact that you have such a great family.
Well, you know, Larry, first and foremost, that's the most important thing to me. It's not hit records. Now, I am doing what I wanted to do since I was 4.
Yes.
But family is first and foremost, and we all have each other's back.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line.
That's great. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I know you. Hey guys, I hope you caught our latest episode of Mr. Nashville Talks with Ronnie McDowell. He has a great new autobiography out now called Bringing It to You Personally, and you can win a copy at www.mrnashvilletalks.com. Good luck.